All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. So, this video is going to be about the market economy. Now, we've already talked about in the previous lesson traditional and command. Traditional, if you remember, is the one where you do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. And command is where the government tells you what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. Okay. Uh, so, we're going to look at the market economy. So we're going to analyze on what economic freedom looks like. We're going to examine the pros and cons of a market economy. Okay. Now, here is your warm up picture. The question I'm asking you is quite simple. All I'm asking you is this: what is the difference between how the panda sees the tree and how does Uncle Sam see the tree? Now, Uncle Sam is the guy with the hat, just in case you don't know. Okay. So he's looking at one tree, the panda's looking at the other. So look at those trees and what are some differences you see? And again, guys, like I told everyone in class, you should have more than one difference. There's several. We went over like six of them in class. Okay, so look at the two and tell me the differences that you see. Okay, so analyze it, examine it, pause the video, write your response because we're moving on in three, two, one. Now, market economy. What does this mean? It basically means that people's decisions act as votes. So when you go off and buy the Galaxy over the iPhone, you're basically saying, I want this. I believe this is better. You should make more of this because the more votes an item gets, the more it's going to be produced. More they're going to say, you know what, people want this. Let's make more of this. Um, but the things that people don't want. You think those companies are going to keep making that product more and more and more and more? No, they're not because they're going to lose money, and no company wants to lose money at all. So the thing is too with the market economy, you and me, consumers, we play a huge role on what is being produced. Okay. Now, what are the good things about a market economy? First thing, it adjusts the change. So whenever something happens where people are like, oh man, I really like this, I really like that, um, the things shift. The fads and the trends and things like that changes like crazy, and the market changes with it. You know, one day, some type of clothing. Let's say like a great example would be like Champions. Back when I was younger, you found it at Walmart. That was the cheaper clothing. Now it's become fashionable. So now the prices, and they're making a lot more of it because hey, now people are really wearing it. Whereas before it was like, yeah, the material wasn't that great. It was just something to throw on and things like that. Okay, so things change. Uh, it's a high degree of individual freedom. You get to choose what you put, what you buy, where you spend your money on. Okay. Uh, Nobody's putting a gun to your head saying, you gotta buy these new pair of Jordans. You gotta buy these bag of chips. No, no one's doing that. Okay. You have the choice. Now, the people who make, things, have a business, some of that, they have the freedom to basically make or have a business however they want. Okay. Now, the only bad side to that is what they make, just because they make it, doesn't mean it's people are going to want it or that's going to be valuable. Okay. But other than that, yeah, you want to make it, sure, go for it. If you have um, you get the money to start up your company and things like that, or start a business, yeah, sure. But doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be successful. Okay. Now, here's the thing, too, guys. There is a small degree of government interference. No matter which um, type of economics there is, there's always going to be government interference. Um, in a realistic sense, it's always going to happen. So these people say the government should not be in the business at all. They're going to be. They have to be. Okay. And we'll get to that later on. Decisions are not in the hands of a few. So, like with the command economy, where the top government people decide on what clothes should be available to the people. No, no, no. You decide. The people decide. So it's a lot of people who decide what continues and what doesn't. Um, Next one, a large number of goods and services available. So think about how many fast food places there are where you live. You know, if you said, "Hey, let's go eat Chinese food," how many Chinese food places are there where you near where you live, or in the city you live in? There's quite a bit. Okay, so you have choices. And the last one is high degree of satisfaction, because chances are you're not going to spend money, especially on yourself, on something you don't want. You spend money on something, it's because you want it. Okay, so you should be happy with it, that decision. Now let's look at the bad things. So, first thing is it doesn't serve the basic needs for everyone. Now, if you remember from the last lesson, your basic needs are three things. Okay, only three things: food and water, shelter, clothing. The basics of those three things. That's it. That's all you need, really. But in this type of economy, market economy, um, if you don't have the money, you can't afford rent. You can't afford a house and things like that. So you're gonna have to be homeless. You're gonna have to make your own shelter and things like that. Find a place to stay. You know, if you're hungry, you have the money. You can't buy groceries. You can't, you know, go to the nearest fast food place or restaurant and get a big meal. You can't because again, you have no income. You have no money. The next one, it doesn't provide enough service for everyone. So if you don't believe me, on a Friday night, try to go somewhere where there's a restaurant. Try to go in there and say, I'd like to have dinner here. It's going to be a 45-minute wait. It just seems like that's the magic number every time you go anywhere on a Friday night to go eat somewhere at a restaurant. It's going to be 45 minutes. Why? Because they don't have enough. They don't have enough waiters. They don't have enough space. They don't have enough cooks, you know, to serve everyone at one time. They don't have that. So you're going to have to wait. Okay. There's a high degree of uncertainty for workers and businesses when change happens. So in 2020, when COVID hit, a lot of companies thought, oh, well, it's going to last for like maybe a month or two. We'll be fine. And it didn't. As you guys know, it lasted for quite a while. The isolation, the quarantine lasted. So a lot of businesses went under because they didn't have enough money to sustain. They didn't save enough. People themselves didn't save enough money to last through the COVID time. So, yeah, things got pretty bad for people, you know. And why? Because of a sudden change, you know. Now, the market economy can fail if one of the three things are not there, or more of the three things. Number one is reasonable competition. So when you think of like fast food, hamburger place, besides McDonald's, you can probably name 7 places in like 30 seconds. You know, that's competition for McDonald's, you know. So that your money isn't going straight there. And now they have to be like, hey, they have to be on top of their game, make sure that their food is good and things like that. Because if it's not, people are going to go to those other places, and that other place is going to get money, and then McDonald's is going to lose money, and then eventually might go out of business. It happens. Another thing, resources must be reasonably free to move from one activity to another. Okay, so resources. This is again anything from lumber, water, materials from the ground, you know, tools, whatever. Resources. The last thing is consumers need access to adequate information so they can weigh out their options and make wise decisions. So, like right now, the Black Friday sales are going on, right? And I don't know about you, but I got a ton of emails this past weekend saying, Hey, at Best Buy, they're having a Black Friday sale. Walmart's having a Black Friday sale. Target's having a Black Friday. Amazon, all these other places are just saying, "Oh, we're having Black Friday. This is what we're selling. This and that." Why do they do that? Because they want you to see where is this place, how much are they selling for this TV, for this toy, whatever, for my niece, nephew, whatever, for Christmas, and they just want you to see, okay, at this place I'd buy this, I hear I buy this, at this store I'm planning on going there, so I should really think about, instead of buying the TV on this website, I should really just go in person, and just get it there instead of waiting for it to be shipped and things like that. Um, Another thing too is whether you go to the store or get it online. Some people would rather go to the store and get it, and then you don't have to worry about these porch pirates, people who steal your Amazon packages from your home, because they follow these packages places around, and they steal all those gifts and things like that. So, you know. Now, economic freedom. What does this mean? People get to choose. One of the first things that you get to choose, especially when you're an adult, is your job. You get to choose what job you want. What do you want to go for? Right? And if you get that job and you don't like it, guess what else you can do? You can quit. It's one of those nice little perks. Okay. Now, here's the thing. This is what I've come to realize, especially with students your guys' age, because this happened, I believe, a couple years ago. A student got really, really upset because they applied for a job, they got to the interview, and then they didn't get picked. And they were just very angry. And while I was asking him questions, and I told him, I think that I know why. If this is how you were acting, getting upset with me asking questions, um, I can see why you didn't get the job. Because that's anger and this hostility you're giving to me. And these guys ask you questions like, what would you do in this situation? Um, you know, why should we hire you? You know, things like that. If you're getting upset at those kind of questions, yeah, I can see why they didn't hire you. Because would you hire somebody like that? So just because you go apply and you get an interview doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get the job. Okay. So you get to choose where you want to apply for, but your employers, the businesses, get to choose who they want. Okay. Last thing is your money. So, like right now, I know a lot of students, a lot of you guys have jobs and you help out your family and things like that, which is commendable. That's awesome. I applaud you. But when you get older and you move out, you have your own place, you pay all your bills and some of that, and then you have a little money extra. You get to choose what you want to do with that money. No one's going to tell you what to do. People might suggest, hey, you should save it, you should spend it, you should invest it. But ultimately, the decision is yours. And you have to live with that decision. Because let's say you invest it in something and the investment tanks and you lose your money, you can't get mad at that person who suggested it because that's all they did. You're the one who put the money up front. You're the one who decided this would be a good idea. Okay. The next thing, economic efficiency. This is about resources. And thing is, yet like you have to remember, we're at a scarcity. We don't have an abundance, a plethora of everything. We don't. We have very limited amount of everything, whether it's food, fresh water, gold, silver, coal, whatever, oil in the ground, some of that. We have a limited amount. So when there's more waste, when people just use something and then toss it, that means less goods, services, and the wants and needs that people won't be getting because that's waste. Okay. So some companies, like one of my dad's friends, uh, has a company where they cut metal, sheets of metal into cylinders and things like that for other stuff. But the excess, the parts that are really thin, like you can't really do much with this thin sheet of metal, they basically throw it in another bin and then recycle it. It gets melted down and then made into another sheet of metal again. Okay, so they don't waste. Okay, uh, economic security, protection from layoffs and illnesses. Guys, I want to say this real quickly because I said this in my class too. A student said this to me last year that as soon as high school over, this is what they told me because I asked them, "What are you gonna do after high school?" They said they're gonna file for unemployment, and I told them I didn't know you had a job. They said I don't. I said, "Have you ever had a job?" They said no. I go, "Mijo, how can you apply for unemployment if you've never had a job?" "I'll just apply for it." Guys, in order to get from the system, you have to put into the system. Okay, so that's that student will not be able to get unemployment because they never had a job. Okay, but when you do, this is something you should look for: insurance plans, get coverage from illnesses and injuries, Social Security. It's going to get taken out of your check, but that's going to come back to help you when you're already older. Okay, some people don't even need it. 90% of Americans do, but that other 10%, they don't need it. Okay, Medicare, health coverage for people 65 and older. Okay, again, this may not apply to you now, but it will in the future. So you gotta take care of that kind of stuff. Okay. Now, full employment. This is full employment is typically 40 hours a week. Okay. And again, the more security you have, job security, the better for you. More better for you to provide for your family, yourself, and stuff like that. The 180 of that is not having a job. So if you don't have a job and you have a family, it's going to be very hard for you to provide for them and give them the goods and services that they want, or possibly may need, you know. So uh, it's important that you find a job that's stable and you're able to get full time. Now, here's the thing: price stability. First thing we're talking about is inflation. This is a rise in general level of prices. So the prices go up, but your pay stays the same. So the price keeps going up, 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 but you're still getting paid the same. That's inflation. Now, again, a lot of people blame the president. It's not just the president's fault. It's congressmen, it's companies, there's lots of factors. So it's not just one person who's in charge, who's to be blamed for it all. Okay. Um, and when that happens, when inflation happens, people need more jobs so they can, get paid more and do what they need to do for themselves and their family. The people who are really hurt though during this time are people on fixed incomes. And it sounds just like it is. It's your money that you get that doesn't change. So usually it's typically older people who are on Social Security money, Social Security, they get like maybe let's say $600 a month. Well, thing is, if the price of food goes up, they can't afford it. You know, if price of rent keeps going up and up and up, wherever they're living, they might have to go become homeless. That's why I see a lot of old people living on the streets because again, they can't afford it. They can't afford to have an apartment, a house, things like that, because the price just kept going higher, higher, and higher. Now, economic growth. This is when things are good. Um, People are making money. People tend then to do what they want to do with it, which is typically get the things they want. So their wants are fulfilled: newer car, better clothes, new home, things like that. Okay. Now, a voluntary market. This is when buyers and sellers freely and willingly exchange whatever it is in a transaction. So let's say you have a car and you want $15,000 for it. I have $15,000 and I want your car. So we do that exchange willingly. Okay. No one's putting a gun to our heads for you to sell it and for me to buy. Okay. And at the end, we should both be happy with our choices. You got what you wanted with the money. I got what I wanted with the car. There you go. We should both be happy. Okay. Now, private property rights. This is privileges that entitle people to their own control of their possessions. And possessions are things like that are tangible. Your phone, your desks if you have a desk at your house, your TV, your game consoles, your phone, things like that. But also, believe it or not, private property also includes your skills and talents. So if you, let's say you're a very skilled artist, nobody can make you paint a mural. No one can tell you, paint a mural right here on this wall. No, they can't. If they can pay you, absolutely. But then again, too, you have the choice of accepting that money and doing the job or not doing it and not getting the money. You have that choice. That's you that skill is your private property. And no one can make you, do something uh, without paying you or um, you doing it yourself. Okay. Now, profit motive. This is the driving force that encourages people in an organization to improve their material well-being. So again, guys, remember, businesses, their whole point of being a business is to make money. You know, that's the whole thing. So if they ever tell you, "Oh, we're here to help out the community, help you out," they're lying. Okay, they want your money. Okay, same thing with people when they're like, "Hey, I'm gonna buy these shoes, not to wear, but to sell them again to somebody else, sell it online." Because they're trying to make a hustle. They're trying to make some quick cash. Will they always be successful? No, not always. But some people, a lot of times, yeah, maybe. Okay. So here's my question to you. Do you believe that private property, we're talking about like a piece of land and a house type of thing, should that be a right or a privilege? So should everyone get a little piece of America, little home, little piece of land, or should it be a privilege? Like, no, 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 you have to earn that. Now, remember this. Keep this in mind before you respond. Think of how many Americans there are. Every man, woman, and child, all the homeless people, and stuff like that. So when you get property, it's not going to be a big chunk. It's probably going to be really small, things like that. And chances are you may not know who your neighbors are going to be. Okay. The other thing is, too, for the privilege part, the prices could be pretty high because, again, it's a market type of thing. So the value of the house might be always a little bit too high. So with that information now go ahead and answer this question. Okay. Once you've answered it, you're done with this lesson. So hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully you enjoyed it. With that being said, guys, you take care, you be safe, and I'll see you guys later. Okay.